Hi, I'm Dr. Phil Parker, and today I'm talking about CRPS, or Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. Now, if you've come to watch this video, the chances are you've heard of it because most people haven't. It's quite a rare illness and disorder, so rare in fact that many doctors never actually stumble upon it, and so there's not a great amount of understanding or information about it. So this video is to try and get some basic building blocks of what's going on and to give you some ideas of what you can expect and what treatment options there are. So first of all, let's have a look at the name Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. It's also been called other things in the past, causalgia, which basically means lots of pain, and reflex sympathetic dystrophy. Very cumbersome terms. The most common one that's currently being used is CRPS, or CRPS, Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. And the reason it has all these different names is because it's a bit of an enigma. Nobody's quite sure what's going on or why it happens. So the origin of usually what happens is somebody has a very small injury. It could be a fracture, but quite often it's stubbing a toe, twisting an ankle, which you'd normally expect to be a bit painful and then go. But instead, it kind of explodes into a range of symptoms. And the core symptoms are pain. So usually pain on even the slightest touch. So bed sheets can cause it, a little breath of air can cause it, as well as contact. And the pain was often excessive and lasts for a long time after the contact is removed. You also get changes in the skin, so usually the coloration of the skin is changed. It can look mottled or red very often, and often hair loss, so the hair will fall out. Changes in temperature of the skin is quite common as well. Difficulty in moving it, but particularly this hypersensitivity and extreme pain, which seems kind of out of proportion to the injury. One of the reasons it was called reflex sympathetic dystrophy is they think the sympathetic nervous system is probably involved. So the sympathetic nervous system is a part of our nervous system that's wired specifically for looking for threat and danger. So when we have an injury, an accident, or have to deal with some big stressor, we kick in a whole bunch of hormones, particularly adrenaline and cortisol. We stimulate a chunk of our nervous system, and some of the effects of prolonged activation of that system will produce things like hair loss and changes in the temperature and color of the skin. So that's why there's a good recognition the sympathetic nervous system is probably involved. Sympathetic nervous system, though, is quite difficult to settle down because we need it. It needs to kind of go up and down through our lives in response to stress. So you don't want to throw too much medication at it to suppress it. It needs to have that natural ability to go up and down. So resetting the sympathetic nervous system is something that is best done as an inside job, finding ways to calm the nervous system. The current treatment for CRPS is some rehab, so physio and OT, to help people to manage the pain and to retrain their brain. It's quite slow and kind of successful, but often takes a long time in very incremental steps. There are also some quite extreme surgical procedures that are generally not recommended because they don't have very good outcomes. So that is cutting nerves and in some cases amputating the affected limb. But because the outcomes are so poor, generally that's a last resort, and most people would say it's not worth doing. There's other stuff that I'm involved in, which is like looking at how we can rewire the brain by changing the way we use our brain to switch off these pathways that seem to have gone crazy within the nervous system. So you can find out more about that if you just click the link below and look at the lightning process, and also some really interesting case studies where we follow people with videos, which are quite amazing. Usually CRPS affects, according to the studies, as the statistics, it affects mostly women in their 40s, but we have seen a huge amount of kids with it. I would say most of the people we see are children, preteens and early teens who've got this. And of course, when that happens, that really makes a difference to that child and the family because they can't do the normal things that they want to do. So finding solutions is really important. There's a link also to a blog. Have a look at that. It's got a little bit more detail, that things that you can do to help. The main message is it's not very well understood. There are quite good treatments for it that do make a difference, but you have to dig around to find them. and to stay positive and optimistic and hopeful and find your way through it, and know that you're not alone. You may have that experience that nobody really understands what's going on, because it is quite a rare condition, but there are people who have had it and recovered using various approaches. So seek them out and find your way through this really tricky and complicated thing that's kind of suddenly descended on your life. And I wish you the best in finding the solutions that work for you.